Let's get figgy with it.
This is our fig wine after 1 year. Now this is 14.5% ABV. Notice no little fizz. And it was sweetened with erythritol, which a lot of people ask about that, and there's nothing wrong with it. I have had odd results using artificial sweeteners for myself personally, so that's why we don't do a lot of it. But I am going to do some more personal testing on that myself to see if, hey, you know, maybe it's not such a thing. So I'll find out more. We actually started this last July, bottled it last September, and now here we are this September, a year later. It is some seriously dark stuff.
It is a very nice raisin color, like
oh
a
yeah,
dark raisin.
This looks like a raisiny, and you know, figs, raisins, they're, I mean, they're not the same, but they're in that family kind of, you know, genre, I should say. It actually has a nice like chestnut red color to it when you hold it to the light. So it's actually quite clear. On the smell, it is heady and rich.
It smells like a really high-end
brandy.
I was even thinking of like a Pinot Noir or something. It's very aroma intensive.
Oh yeah, I mean, this is a punch you in the nose kind of smell.
But not in an aggressive bad way, just
no.
in a
it's
forward,
just, there's so much there.
Here I am, enjoy me kind of thing.
I get like cherry and plum, raisiny, and then at the end, I get just the tiniest hint of that alcohol burn.
It almost smells like it's oat.
I don't believe this was.
I don't think it was either, but it's got like that.
I don't know, it smells really nice. That's all I know. So yeah, but it smells very complex. That's the thing. There's a lot of layers to it.
Now, if some of you are curious about the erythritol, what we did was we actually back sweetened with erythritol to bring it up to a sweetness level that at the time of bottling we enjoyed, because erythritol is a non-fermentable sugar. That way we wouldn't have to pasteurize it. We wouldn't have to worry about fermentation kicking back up because these can't ferment erythritol.
Right. A lot of people ask about erythritol, stevia, allulose, things like that. Stevia, however you like to pronounce it, I've heard and I've experienced, gives an odd flavor to things. For some things it works, but I don't think for fermented beverages it's the right flavor. Allulose and erythritol both give a similar sugar-like flavor. They don't have as much of an off flavor to them.
First thing that I get in taking my first sip on this is the texture. It has a texture of like a liqueur more than a wine.
It's thick. I mean, obviously, it's not thick, but it tastes rich and velvety in the mouth. All right, let me take you on a little trip after I have another sip. First thing that I get, like Derek said, is that velvety, smooth texture. It has mouthfeel, like amazing mouthfeel, rich and almost creamy.
Yeah.
Then it's kind of a fruity, raisiny sweetness comes in that is just, I can't describe it. Like, if you like fig Newtons, this doesn't taste like them. I like figs. This doesn't really taste like them. I like raisins. It doesn't quite taste like them either. It's like a dark fruit and a raisin had a love child, and that's kind of what I'm getting from this. With a caramelization and a depth
and
that is
almost a coffee note.
Almost, yeah. There's even almost, I'm getting coffee or even a dark chocolate kind of note in there. That's just like there's a roasty note that I can't really figure out what it's coming from, but it's there. Wow, really interesting is the best word I can describe. In the middle of the mouth, again, the sweetness carries through, the flavors are carrying through, and that's when that richness really seems to like, you know, bam, it's like an oil slick in your mouth, which sounds really bad, but in this case, it fills your palate is what it really does. It doesn't let it just wash around. It's all over at the same time. It's very, very coating. On the finish, let me try again. It's actually got quite a long finish.
Yeah.
That's what I was expecting. That's what I thought. It stays with you. It's on the exhale a few times later. It's still there, but you're still getting that velvety, smooth feeling going down. Like Derek said, this is more like a liqueur.
Yeah.
It's sweet, but I wouldn't call this like sickly sweet.
No, and I think it's those bitter roasted notes.
They help offset.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it's a little bit lacking in acidity. Just a touch, just a hair. because it's got some sweetness and it's got the roasty notes. So it's kind of like two notes. It needs a little bit of acidity to give it a little spark, a little pop. But it's very nice. I don't have an issue with this. Just, you always have to be hypercritical when you're doing these kind of things.
Yeah, this is a lot more complex than I thought it was going to be. And I find it really interesting that liqueur texture, that sensation, and then the different, like I'm not stuck on one type of fruit. It's like different type of fruits and different treatments of those different type of fruits, whether they be dried or baked even. And my brain with the caramel notes and the coffee dark chocolate notes keeps coming back to baked goods. And I think this would be a lovely liqueur style thing to soak a cake in.
Yeah. Or like instead of a fruit cake, instead of putting it in rum, put it in this.
Yeah.
Or just plain old fruit soaked in this would be amazing.
Yep.
I mean, drizzle this over
ice cream.
You can put this on the bumper of a Volkswagen. It would probably taste pretty good.
So I have a vague recollection of when we initially tasted it. I don't think we really enjoyed it that much.
No, I don't think we liked it.
But that impression has certainly changed after a year's time.
Yeah, I mean, it's got a nice sweetness level. It's not too sweet, but it's sweet enough to be enjoyable. It's got that roasty thing that is really odd for this. And somebody's going to say, oh, it's because you did this. Yeah, we don't go back and watch those on purpose. That way we're impartial. Okay? We don't know what's going on at all. I like to think of it as somebody just handed me this and said, here, drink this. What do you think of it?
Yeah.
And if someone handed this to me and I didn't know what it was and said, what do you think this is? I'd think it was a mead, first of all, not a wine. And I would think it was a Malamel made with all kinds of dark fruits, probably oaked or like a bochet even. I'd be thinking things like that. That's what this reminds me of, like a bochet melomel of dark fruits.
I am with you on the mead front. I'm actually reminded of our coffee mel. And I think it's because I drank copious amounts of our coffee mel because I was trying to make cocktails to share with you. But they were all...
That's foreshadowing.
They were all dairy-based, and if you have played with alcohol and dairy on your own, you know that sometimes it gets a little funky. So they tasted good, but they weren't aesthetically as pleasing as I wanted them to be.
Yeah, they break.
Yep.
The milk coagulates.
Yeah, it gets kind of curly, but...
Curdles, that's the word. Yeah.
But it's okay.
Coagulates, curdles.
But, so I'm getting, like, if we added fruit to our coffee mel, I think it would be very similar to this.
Kind of, yeah. Yeah, I don't think the coffee note's quite that strong.
No.
It's the roasted part that's coming through and a caramelization that's coming through. And that's why I say bochet, because it kind of has a bochet flavor without the bitterness that can come from that. Really interesting. I mean, I have to give it some credit. There's a lot of levels here. There's many layers. Everything from that lovely thickness to the dark fruits, to the roastiness, to, yeah.
And I think that's because we use dried figs. We have noticed that when we ferment dried fruit, we get this really great, heightened, different flavor profile. And we just used all dried figs in this.
Dried. We don't get fresh figs around here.
Yeah, because my fig trees have yet to produce, but they're out there. I baby them, I talk to them, I give them happy little pat-pats.
They're this tall.
They're just...
This tall.
They're not really...
Years.
Yeah.
This tall.
What you can do. Anyway, so that's why we went to the dried fig route, but I think in this particular application, it actually worked to our benefit.
It did create a vastly different product than what many people would consider fig wine.
Yeah.
Okay, most people make fig wine using fresh figs, and it comes out more like a white wine. It's maybe like an amber color.
Yeah.
This completely different animal. And I think it's interesting for that. I would not put this as like a drinking wine with dinner. This is more of a digestif to have after a meal to help it go down kind of thing. Have it with cheese, have it with any rich desserts. It works beautifully for that. It's also the kind of thing like where you might pour yourself a cognac or a brandy and have
just
that after dinner.
Sip it.
It works like that too.
Yeah.
I like that. I may actually use it for that. And it's 14.5% ABV, so it's no slouch either. It's got, but I don't taste alcohol.
No.
I got just a hint of it on the smell right at the end, like just that little bit of a burn, but you had to really dig for it.
Yeah.
But in the taste, there's no alcohol. Nope, this is pure roasty, fruity juice that'll knock you on your butt. I mean, really, it's pretty good stuff.
All right, so now we have to think of numbers.
I've been thinking of numbers the whole time, and I don't really know where to go with it. I've tried to be a little bit more critical in my numbering lately, so that's where I'm going with this one. But anyway, let me describe our numbering system for you so I can give you our scores. Our scoring system starts at 1 and goes to 10. 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest. If something is just, oh yeah, I would pick that among everything else, it's a 10. Unless it's one of our few 11s that we have given, which obviously would be slightly better than just a plain old 10. Then you have 1, the opposite end of the scale. This is crap, okay? You'd probably want to dump it out. You wouldn't want to drink it. You wouldn't want to serve it to your worst enemy. Then right smack in the middle is 5. 5 to me is a breaking point. It's the, I would drink this versus how much do I really want to have a drink that day? So 5 is kind of that breaking point. With that being said, do you have a number?
I do.
Now remember, when we judge these, we don't judge them based off of what we know about them. We judge them based off of what we experience about them. That's why we don't try to have foreknowledge of anything about this other than what's written on the label, which is it's a year old, it's 14.5%. So that, given that, we say, all right, how is it? What is our experience with it? And that gives us the number. You good? Does that help solidify it or make it worse?
It's just a thing.
Yeah. All right, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, 3,
6.
8. Ooh.
Yeah, and I know you're like at home going, Derica, what the actual beep? Well, I'm conflicted with this because I really like it, I really appreciate it, and I really think that it's gone places that I wasn't expecting.
Yes.
However, each time I drink it, I'm like, oh, and then question mark.
Yeah, it's not your thing.
And I can't fill in that question mark. I can't pinpoint what is wrong, but I feel like there's either something missing or something wrong.
Okay.
Brian mentioned the acidity, and I feel like I'm getting a little bit of the acidity when I'm getting the fruit notes, but not as much as what might make it more rounded, more complex, more
balanced.
But then I can't say, oh, I can imagine this with lemon juice and it being better. No, that just seems wrong. So
you mean you're not going to put Cointreau in
I'm
this?
not going to put Cointreau.
I wouldn't. I don't think Cointreau in this would help. I totally see everything you're saying. And I want to point something out before I give my opinion. If you were to just make yourself an adult beverage, what would it be?
Me?
Yeah, your first choice. What do you normally go for?
Mojito.
A mojito, okay? What's in a mojito? For those at home that don't know.
I would have a vodka mojito, not a rum mojito. So it's going to be vodka with lime juice, our ring for lime juice, thank you very much, some sugar, and some freshly grown crushed mint.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is crisp, fresh, light, and fruity.
And seltzer water or tonic water.
Crisp, fresh, light, and fruity.
Yeah.
This
is none of those.
Is dark, moody, rich, and heavy.
Roasty.
It's the exact opposite of all the things that she likes.
Yeah.
Me, when I go to choose something, the first thing I go to is whiskey or brandy or rum. Straight. No ice even, nothing. Rich, roasty, moody, dark.
This beverage.
This is my thing. Now, the reason why it's not higher, even though this is something I can appreciate, is because I think it needs a little bit of acid. It needs that brightness, that little pop. And it would be higher. I don't know that it could get to a 10. It's not exactly the right, like she said there's something off or whatever. I can kind of agree. There's something a little bit, it's not my favorite.
And I hate to be one of those people, but is it possible it's the erythritol?
It's possible. It could be the erythritol. We don't know. We haven't done this side by side with sugar to know if that is the case. We might someday. We might do an erythritol versus sugar test in a brew to see, once I figure out if they affect me too much, or maybe we can do it anyway. I just won't drink it. That's all. A little bit won't. But that's what I think is going on, is maybe it's just not my preference. But still, I gave it an 8 because I think about this as, would I pour this in a glass and just sit back and sip this like I would a brandy or a cognac or a whiskey? Yeah, that's how I would treat this.
Yeah, for me, this is very situational. Like, I could see drinking this with like a nice slice of carrot cake or spice cake or any sort of cake, really. But we don't really eat cake here, hardly at all. So then it's like, oh, what else would I drink this? I don't know. I
guess I'm going to come up with some new terms for things too. You're going to have like a drinker, a chugger, and a sipper. This is a sipper.
Yeah.
Some meads are drinkers. Some beers and lighter ciders might be chuggers. This is a sipper, without a doubt, which puts it in a different category than most wines, beers, and ciders and meads, because most of those are drinkers. You would take a full mouthful. This, you want to take a little bit at a time and really experience it. Very different way of consuming. And it's a fine line, and it's personal preference too, but that's kind of the best description that I could give on that.
Yeah, I agree.
Anything else you want to say?
I think we're good.
All right, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.